What you just need to understand is that we do live in an inflationary environment now. It's likely to persist for at least 10 years or until we address the problem seriously. And therefore, what people need to do to protect themselves is to invest in or buy or be exposed to things that the government can't inflate. And the best one is Bitcoin. The second best one is gold. So, that's really kind of the easy, summary bottom line. There's a lot more behind that. And by the way, how we get from here to there, it's going to be messy. I mean, Bitcoin could go to 140. It could come back to 70. I mean, these are volatile assets. And, history shows in changing monetary systems like what we're going through right now, you've got to know what you're doing. You've got to have conviction because there will be volatility.
The crypto market is on the edge of chaos, and what happens next will blow your mind. Bitcoin has tumbled to a shocking low of $77,000, only to make a small rebound above $80,000. But don't be deceived. The mood is fragile, and the signs point to something much bigger coming. With growing recession fears and a massive sell-off triggered by Mt. Gox moving over 11,000 BTC, the storm is only just beginning. Lawrence Lepard, a seasoned financial expert, sees this uncertainty as a critical moment. He believes the current market instability is just the tip of the iceberg. In his view, Bitcoin is an essential asset to protect against the ongoing inflationary environment. He warns, however, that the path ahead will be volatile. Bitcoin could potentially soar to a new all-time high, but it's also poised to crash back to $70,000. This volatility isn't something everyone will be able to withstand, and the sell-off isn't isolated to crypto alone. With fear gripping global markets, risk assets across the board are plunging. The Nasdaq, which tracks major tech stocks, has entered correction territory, while concerns about a recession continue to rise. Bitcoin's close correlation with U.S. stocks means the crypto market could struggle for recovery if the equity markets continue to stumble. So, the big question now is, where is the market heading to, and how can investors protect themselves in such unpredictable times? Stick around as we bring you more clips from Lawrence Lepard's explosive interview to gain more insight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for additional in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the video.
I'm not sure if the Oman stuff has been made public or not, but maybe it has. I think the Saudi Arabia stuff has not been made public, but the word I was getting was that these other countries in the Middle East, countries with enormous wealth, were beginning to embrace Bitcoin as a form of digital gold, and they were stacking, and that they were actually there to, among other things, ask Trump's son and Manafort, hey, we're thinking of doing more of this. We're thinking of announcing it. And I was told by the Policy Institute guys that the U.S. response back was, yeah, it's all great. We're very supportive, but just don't jump in front of us. Let us do our thing first, and then go ahead and announce it. So, as I say, to me, that's just huge. I mean, there's trillions of dollars in these countries, and and they've traditionally been sound money countries. I mean, the Arab culture loves gold, the precursor to Bitcoin. And so if they're now learning to make the jump from being investors in gold to investors in Bitcoin, that's a really big deal, in my opinion. So I couldn't have been more bulled up coming out of the conference. And you always hear these things, and then you wait and see, well, is it really going to happen, right? Is Trump really going to deliver? Are we going to get a strategic Bitcoin reserve? And then there were some disappointing things with the Trump coin, the Melania coin, and all the other shit coins getting put into another, bucket. But at the end of the day, he came through. And although they have not announced plans to buy a lot, they've announced that they're intending to buy if they can do it in a revenue neutral way. And they've said they're not going to sell. And, and then the Loomis bill today, as you probably saw, has picked up some additional sponsors. And so, I mean, this is how it happens, right? Slowly but surely. The consensus grows that this is the asset to own. There's obviously more work that needs to be done, but it's a big win. Let's face it. I mean, it could, it'd be nice to have it enacted through legislation so that if we have Team Blue winning in 4 years, they can't undo it, right?
Right.
But I think, even Team Blue, has caught some heat because, I mean, didn't they sell almost an equal number of coins? And, they left $17 billion on the table as a result of selling those at much lower prices. So I feel like, we've got knowledge now at the highest levels of the U.S. government that this is an important strategic asset to hold. And that's a big deal. And so now every other country in the world has to focus on, gee, if this becomes the neutral reserve currency, and anyone who studies what's going on knows that we need a neutral reserve currency as a result of Triffin's dilemma, they might start asking, well, and many of them, by the way, have bet on gold. We know China, for example, has bet hugely on gold, has a lot more gold than they say they have based on the import-export data. And so, they're going to have to sit there and say to themselves, gee, are we making the right bet? Because this is digital gold and it's better than gold in many respects. And, this is Saylor's point, which is, we should sell all our gold and use it to buy Bitcoin, which I, generally speaking, kind of agree with, but I don't think we're there yet. And then again, there's some debate as to how much gold we really have. And I find it interesting. Trump said, he's going to go audit Fort Knox. I hope he does. I hope he finds it's there. I'm a little worried that, that might be an empty promise. I'm not sure they're going to like what they find, but that's another bridge they got to cross. But look, this is a step along the way, and my sense is there'll need to be more steps. They need to find revenue neutral ways to grow the reserve. I think the minute they start growing it, that'll be another big step. And I think they will grow it. I think they know that they need to have a higher Bitcoin price to help them, because stable coins, which are a small piece of the overall Bitcoin network today, not insignificant, but smaller, are big buyers of treasury bills. And guess what? The U.S. has a lot of treasury bills to sell. And so if the Bitcoin price goes higher and stablecoin market gets bigger, and then those stablecoins need to buy treasury bills, well, that's all good for the U.S. government. So, and Besant knows that. They from back channels and what I've heard, they get it. And so this is really, really positive. And now, does it manifest in the price immediately? No, the price is down right now. I mean, it's like so many Wall Street things, it's kind of buy the rumor and sell the news. And, we bought the rumor, got to 106. And of course, now the news is getting sold. And, I think it's more what's going on right now. I think it's more actually liquidity driven, just that, the world is kind of turning risk off on the overall stock market because the economy appears to be rolling over, and all these tariffs and all the things Trump has made it clear he's going to disrupt things. He's going to break things, as necessary. And one could argue that he's trying to break the stock market in order to help the bond market, because they've got a lot of debt to roll over, and it's a problem. So it's an interesting time. I'll tell you that. I mean, there's going to be more going on in this monetary stuff the next 5 years than there has been in the last 20. We're really in for a lot of change, in my opinion.
Lawrence Lepard reveals a powerful shift in global finance as wealthy Middle Eastern nations, known for their gold investments, begin embracing Bitcoin as digital gold. Countries like Saudi Arabia are quietly stacking Bitcoin, preparing to lead the charge. Lepard is bullish on this transformation, noting Bitcoin's growing role as a potential neutral reserve currency. With U.S. leaders exploring Bitcoin's strategic value, the next 5 years could bring more change in the financial world than the last 2 decades combined. He also delves into the shifting U.S. economic landscape, highlighting how Trump's evolving stance on Bitcoin could reshape global finance. Initially skeptical, Trump was persuaded by advisors to embrace Bitcoin as a competitive edge, especially against China. With a weaker dollar on the horizon to balance trade and restore manufacturing, Lepard believes Bitcoin will thrive. As monetary chaos forces the Fed to print more money, Bitcoin's role as an unprintable asset makes it a top choice for navigating uncertain times. Let's watch more clips from the interview.
I think the SBR, they signed it because they wanted to signal that we were going to be a leader in the crypto area. I mean, one thing that's great about the way Trump was managed into this, you recall 3 years ago, Trump hated Bitcoin, didn't really understand it. And honestly, to this day, I don't think he completely understands it, but I'm sure his advisors do. But I think what's going on here is that, he wanted to keep his promises to this group. I mean, I thought it was extremely positive, obviously, to let Ross go as he had promised. And he's a competitive guy. And I think the people who sold it to him, in my view, very smartly said, look, this is a race with China, and we don't want to let them get ahead. And he doesn't like to lose. And so that's my guess as to why he did it. I'm not sure he fully understands all the implications. I mean, I'm not sure anyone really fully understands the implications. I mean, if they do what Saylor is talking about doing, which is sell the gold used to buy Bitcoin, I mean, this is really, really a massive devaluation of the dollar. And there've been mixed signals coming out of this administration. I mean, Besant has said, we want the dollar to remain the world's reserve currency, but then he's also said we need a weaker dollar, in order to balance trade. And so those two things are slightly in contrast, don't go together. But I think, the world has been unbalanced massively because of the strong dollar policy and because of the financialization of the United States. And Besant said something else I thought was very, very indicative of where they're going. And that is, Wall Street's done extremely well for the past 20 years, and Main Street hasn't done so well. And, it's Wall Street that drives the stock market. And, the people who voted Trump in, a lot of them don't own stocks. They're the working class, and they don't necessarily have enough capital to own stocks. So if the stock market goes down, that's not going to hurt them that much per se, except insofar as it then turns into a recession and they start losing their jobs. So, the problem is it's all interconnected, and the whole economy has been built upon, cheap money and puffing up asset values. And I think, they want to try and reverse that process, but I think the word I used earlier, it's going to be disruptive. It's going to be hard. And they've even come out and said that. And I think Besant also said that, it's very clear that to the degree they're going to be disruptive, they should do it right up front, because in 2 years, the voters get another say. And in 4 years, they get another big say on, what team is going to be running the country. And so if you're going to have trouble, if you break things right now, one can argue, or he can make an argument that, hey, Biden left us with a pile of shit and we're doing the best we can given what we were left. And hopefully then things will be looking better as the 4 years rolls around, so that JD will have a chance to win. So, there's a lot of interesting cross currents going on, but they know that we have to weaken the dollar to balance trade and really to kind of reshore manufacturing here. I mean, another, related part of all this is, it became very clear in this war that, we couldn't even build the shells we needed to supply the Ukraine for the war. And, manufacturing in the U.S. has been hollowed out, and that's got to change. And the way for that to change is a weaker dollar, so that, we basically, bring manufacturing back here and it's competitive. Now, the thing that I think most people aren't talking about, including Trump, is that tariffs and a weaker dollar also will result in domestic inflation, more domestic inflation. But hopefully if it's domestic inflation, but everyone's fully employed, then, the two will balance out, and there'll be wage growth for those who are the workers. And, the people who will not do as well are the people who hold bonds, or the Wall Street people who've made all their money off financialization. So I think that's kind of the big picture, what they're trying to do. My partner describes, I have a partner at Bitcoin Opportunity Fund, David Foley, said, this is brain surgery. I mean, it's going to be really hard. And, we don't really know exactly how it's going to unfold. But I think one conclusion I draw is that almost no matter how it unfolds, it's good for Bitcoin, because, it's likely to lead to some more monetary chaos. And this was the point of my book, which was that really all forms of monetary chaos, ultimately force the Federal Reserve into using the only tool they have, the only hammer they really know, which is print. So, they're going to, when things get rough, the market falls enough, the bond market, has an upheaval, enough people are laid off, people are crying for stimmy checks, whatever it might be, the solution will somehow be to print the money to solve it, versus letting a complete depression unfold and the complete collapse of the system. And therefore, that printing will be inflationary, and therefore in an inflationary environment, you want to hold assets the government can't print. And the two premier assets in that category, in that bucket, are Bitcoin and gold, in that order, with Bitcoin being better than gold, but they're both unprintable. You can't print gold. So, although they have paper gold, but in general, you can't print real gold.
As Bitcoin navigates the turbulence of market fluctuations, the recent dip in U.S. inflation may appear to offer a glimmer of hope. Yet, this decline has sparked growing concerns over the escalating U.S. trade war, dampening investor enthusiasm for high-risk assets like Bitcoin. While inflation appears to ease, Bitcoin's price remains in a holding pattern, with traders bracing for further volatility. Experts warn that the combination of ongoing uncertainty, rising geopolitical tensions, and trade-related fears could stymie any potential Bitcoin surge in the near term. Lawrence Lepard's perspective reinforces this outlook, particularly his conviction that Bitcoin thrives in periods of monetary disorder. As global economies undergo significant shifts and inflationary pressures continue, Lepard underscores Bitcoin's unique role as a scarce, unprintable asset, standing in stark contrast to traditional currencies, which central banks can manipulate at will. The current market stagnation reveals a deeper underlying issue within the U.S. economy, one that Lepard believes points to a necessary transition away from dollar dependency toward assets like Bitcoin. He warns that the U.S. is heading into an era of disruption, mirroring the chaos of ongoing trade conflicts, and predicts that the Federal Reserve may resort to money printing as a means of managing the fallout. Bitcoin's behavior in the market, unmoved by positive inflation data, illustrates how deeply tied it is to global financial shifts. As central banks adjust and geopolitics unfold, Bitcoin's position as a haven asset grows increasingly evident, reinforcing Lepard's assertion that it's poised for long-term value preservation amid financial instability. As we wrap up, do you believe Bitcoin can act as a hedge against economic instability in a world facing trade wars and inflation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.